Just days ago, there were serious concerns behind the green garage doors at Aston Martin. As the Spanish Grand Prix unfolded, Lance Stroll was suddenly ruled out. Not from strategy, not from form, but due to lingering pain from an injury he sustained last year. Quietly, the team issued a statement. The Canadian had been suffering for weeks, and now his participation in his home Grand Prix was in serious jeopardy. That news sent a ripple through the paddock. Montreal isn't just another race for Stroll, it's the race, the track where childhood dreams meet Formula One reality. But with Felipe Drugovich and Stoffel Vandoorne occupied with Le Mans duties, Aston Martin was on the verge of showing up in Canada with just one car. Now, with hours ticking down and questions mounting, they've broken their silence, and we've got a lot to unpack. Before we dive deeper into the full story behind Stroll's comeback, the surgical intervention, and what this means for Aston Martin's season, make sure you're subscribed. If you love deep F1 breakdowns with no fluff, just insight, this is the channel you'll want on your grid all year long. Let's break this down layer by layer, because Lance Stroll's return to the Formula One grid at the Canadian Grand Prix is far more than just a case of driver out, driver back in. It's a situation laced with medical risk, strategic relief, team vulnerability, and the relentless pressure of modern Formula One expectations. And for Aston Martin, it could have been a disaster. Stroll's absence from the Spanish Grand Prix raised eyebrows, not only for the timing, announced just after qualifying, but also for the cause, a hand and wrist injury that had supposedly lingered for 6 weeks. The team stated the pain was linked to the surgical procedure Stroll underwent in 2023, following his much-publicised cycling crash that saw him break both wrists just before pre-season testing in Bahrain. Back then, Stroll was lauded for his speedy return and grit. But now we know that crash may have had long-term consequences that were never fully resolved. According to Aston Martin's official release, the pain worsened leading into Barcelona, forcing the team, on medical advice, to pull Stroll from Sunday's race and schedule a corrective procedure. That procedure, notably, was performed by Dr. Xavier Mir, one of the most renowned trauma surgeons in motorsports, best known for saving careers in MotoGP. When Dr. Mir's name enters the equation, you know it's serious. This wasn't a precautionary checkup. This was urgent medical intervention in the middle of a race weekend, with Stroll's home Grand Prix looming just 2 weeks later. And here's where things got tense behind the scenes. Aston Martin's reserve driver lineup, usually robust with Felipe Drugovich and Stoffel Vandoorne, was unavailable. Both men were committed to the 24 hours of Le Mans, the most prestigious endurance race in the world. That left the team exposed. No backup, no plan B. If Stroll couldn't recover in time, Aston Martin would have only one car on the grid in Montreal. That's more than a bad look. It's a strategic and financial headache. Let's put that into perspective. Fielding just one car doesn't only halve your point-scoring potential, it sends the wrong message to investors, sponsors, and fans. In a year where Aston Martin is building its own factory, growing a talent-rich workforce, and publicly chasing top 3 status in the Constructors' Championship, missing a full car entry, especially at a major home race, would be unthinkable. For Lawrence Stroll, the billionaire team owner and father of the driver in question, the optics of that situation would have been unacceptable. This urgency explains why Stroll, just days after surgery, was spotted testing at Paul Ricard, the former home of the French Grand Prix, not in a simulator, not just doing laps in a road car, but driving a previous generation Aston Martin Formula One car under high load and race-like conditions. The goal, not performance benchmarking. This was about pain tolerance, stamina, and safety clearance. Could Stroll handle full race stints? Could he withstand the braking forces, the steering torque, the shifting demands of a track like Montreal? According to the team, yes, he could. The test was a success, and by Wednesday of race week, Aston Martin made it official. Lance Stroll is back. But even with that confirmation, serious questions remain. First, was the decision rushed? Montreal is physically demanding, with aggressive curbs, bumpy straights, and heavy braking zones. It's a place that puts serious stress on a driver's upper body. If the injury isn't 100% resolved, could we see Stroll fade during the race? Or worse, suffer a recurrence that sidelines him again mid-season? Second, what happens if this scenario replays in the future? Aston Martin dodged a bullet this time, but what if Alonso faces injury or illness? The Le Mans clash exposed a logistical blind spot in the team's structure. Would they consider hiring a third reserve driver not committed to other racing calendars? And if not, are they placing too much faith in a young driver who has already battled multiple injuries within the past 18 months? Then there's the bigger picture narrative. What is Lance Stroll's long-term trajectory in Formula One? Let's be candid. Despite years in the sport, Stroll's results have never matched those of teammate Fernando Alonso. And while his presence in the team is secure for now, thanks largely to his father's ownership, Aston Martin is trying to become a legitimate title contender. At some point, results will matter more than legacy. If injuries continue to hamper Stroll's performance, could that accelerate conversations about new driver lineups in 2026 and beyond? There are already whispers in the paddock about Aston Martin's ambitions, with the team entering into a works engine partnership with Honda from 2026, and with a new wind tunnel and facilities coming online, the team may need to attract a top-level driver pairing to match their aspirations. Could that mean grooming Felipe Drugovich as a long-term replacement? Or even trying to poach a rising star like Oscar Piastri or Yuki Tsunoda, both drivers with links to Honda? Of course, none of this is to take away from Lance's determination. If anything, his decision to fight through pain, undergo surgery mid-season, and commit to racing in front of his home crowd speaks volumes. The pressure of performing in front of friends, family, and an entire nation is immense. And yet, he's embracing it. That shows character. It shows heart. But in Formula One, emotion isn't enough. Recovery must be complete. Performance must follow. So here's the big question. Was this a brave return driven by passion and patriotism? Or a high-risk move to save face for Aston Martin? And what does it mean for Stroll's long-term health and future in F1? Let me know what you think in the comments.